My name is Dr. Nyree Abdul, and I am a holistic medical doctor in Tarpon Springs, Florida. Most of what I do now is natural medicine. And by natural medicine, I mean that I treat all primary, acute, and chronic conditions using natural things. So it can range from supplements and vitamins to homeopathy, to Chinese medicine, and to all different types of detoxification therapies like intravenous therapies. Most of who I am, and I share with my patients, is an energy medicine woman. And what I mean by that is I have been born with the ability to interpret and see the in-between unseen spaces where I can get a better sense of what's going on with my patients in terms of their symptoms and what they might need to help them. And so this energy medicine part of me is really the part that directs me and kind of guides me in helping the people who choose to see me.
Hi, I'm Denise. I am a patient of Dr. Nyree's and have been so for about 7 years now, along with my 2 children. And I initially came to Dr. Nyree with an unknown condition at the time, but just a lot of pain and tiredness, kind of foggy mental state. And so 7 years later, I'm here now and doing this testimony.
7 years ago, when you came to see me, what exactly were you experiencing at the time, and perhaps what were some of the things that you had tried before you came to see me?
So I was chronically tired, pain, not able to think clearly. Before, and that was, I came to see you pretty much right after I moved to the area. Prior to that, I was in the Miami area, and I did go see a regular allopathic doctor who diagnosed me with Hashimoto's. And so started taking thyroid meds after that, and things just got worse, like a lot worse. And when I went back and, explained, I was kind of dismissed, and there were times where it was kind of like insinuated that I was in my head. It wasn't real. Nobody else experienced this, so I must, not be experiencing it as well. And I also went to see, specialist and for endocrinology for the Hashimoto's, because I thought, okay, something is wrong here and I need to figure out what, because not to sound dramatic, but I really felt as though if I didn't do something, like I was going to die, like it was heading in that direction. So, I got some help there, but not the help I needed. And then when I moved here, that's when I first saw you. And that's when things started to change.
When I first met Denise, I was very comfortable, with what you came to me for in terms of the thyroid condition. And I was more than happy to help you with that. And then, we kind of discovered that there were a lot of other things going on in terms of pathogens and things that were in your body. And then you also brought your children to me. So, what was a little bit different there is you were the first family that I had treated in this way. And at the time, your son was very young. He was probably 3. Yeah, he was 3 at the time. And, you were so knowledgeable in what you had been researching and all of the things that you had already learned and had been doing for him. And it also kind of challenged me because I wanted to not just be there for you, but of course for your children. And, my research deepened so much with, you becoming a patient and them also kind of coming under my wing, and, you became family and your children are my family, of course, to this day. So working with your daughter and your son, because treating children is so different than treating adults, I felt like we both learned so much, and there was a learning curve there that, we both kind of got on and we've tried many, many different things. So obviously with you, we kind of discovered and came to understand the Lyme's disease aspect of things, and, along with some mold, toxicity and other metals and chemicals and things that, kind of were synergistically creating symptoms in the body. And so, we were able to treat you with more what I call direct modalities, where with the children, we had to get creative and find different things that we could do. And, you helped me to not only learn a new way and working with your children, but it opened up so many doors in my understanding of how symptoms show up differently for different individuals, especially in, younger people.
When I first came to you, I knew I had Hashimoto's, but I didn't know what else was going on. And obviously I knew there was a lot more to it than that. And when I sat down with you, I remember, you took a very comprehensive history. And I remember that when I told you how when I was living in Pennsylvania and I knew that I had acute Lyme disease, and I had gone to the regular, an allopathic doctor and gotten antibiotics, and I hadn't really thought much about it afterwards, and that immediately I could tell, like you kind of looked up, and I think it must have been a red flag in your mind. And I remember you saying that maybe testing that to see, if there was any chronic issues. And so we did, and sure enough, it ended up being chronic Lyme. And although that was hard to hear and hard to know, it allowed me to then say, okay, this is what I'm dealing with. Now it's time to move forward. Whereas in comparison to going other places to seek help, even though that knowledge was given, it never set off any red flags for anyone. It just was kind of pushed aside. And so through that kind of ability to look through and your knowledge of being able to identify what could really be the issue is what allowed me to even begin healing. So I was so thankful, as much as I didn't want to hear, that's what it was, so thankful just to have an answer. And then it also explained a lot about what was going on with my children, because then from that point I was able to start reading and really understanding the nature of what it is and saying, okay, that's what's also going on with both of my children. My daughter, I knew from just that and reading exactly when she had contracted it, and I knew that my son had most likely gotten it through nursing. And so it also allowed me to then move forward and say, okay, this is what we're dealing with, and now we can all begin our journey on to heal. So super grateful for that.
So when I met you, you were more knowledgeable than probably most of my patients, and you were very open to doing alternative things. Actually, you were seeking that, and so I felt like we were a really good match in that way. And initially we started with elaborate blood work like I do, because most people aren't looking deeply enough. And again, this is not wrong or right. It's just that throughout my experience of really getting a true sense of what's happening in the body, if we're not looking for it, we're probably not going to find it. And so there are things that I have found need to be checked. So in doing the testing, the different types of systems that we want to look at and go into more deeply, that involve the foundation of the body, that most practitioners unfortunately are not looking for, because we're not trained. We're just not trained to look for these things. And I have found that, it's imperative that we look, because if we don't look, we're not going to find it. And so a lot of what we did for you, for example, outside of just looking at Lyme's, in the Lyme's panel, is what is your organ system? What is everything doing? So your adrenals, your hormones, your complete thyroid, not just a basic thyroid, but we want to look at everything. We want to do an ultrasound, right? So we looked at all of the necessary details, certain vitamins, certain minerals, and then we also did the live blood cell analysis, which for me gives so much information, because it's one thing to do a lab test and have a number, that's a quantitative amount, but, numbers are very different for different individuals, and the body compensates very well. So it's also, for me, necessary to look at that blood under a microscope, because I want to see what's the integrity of the cells. And then there's so many things that we see in a live blood where we're taking a drop or two, putting it under the microscope in real time, seeing all the different things that live there, right? We're going to see how you're digesting food. We're going to see mold. We're going to see different pathogens, yeast, right? We're going to see parasites. So I want to take a complete look at you from the inside out. And I feel like that's necessary in order for us to come to the proper conclusion. We don't have to run every single test, but there's some of them that are definitely more important than others. So once we kind of got that going and it was time to create the treatment plan, I appreciated how open you were to, just going full force and getting this done. And so one of the primary things we did was detoxification, right? Like food, just starting with food, environment, and then really detoxing those things that were sitting in your body for so many years that needed to come out, because the limes and the mold kind of just came and added to what was already there. And so we needed to slowly remove that. And one of the things that I teach is, when we go in there, we don't want to go in and just swirl everything around at one time, because that can make you feel really sick. So it has to be kind of systematic, where we stretch you a little bit and make your body stronger, and then start killing or pulling these things out. And I feel like that approach works so much better for more people than not, because your system is already under a lot of stress, and in approaching it this way, it kind of works better to support you and then to help you tolerate the detox. So we started multiple ways of doing that. We did liver systems, we looked at the GI, the colon, the lymphatics, we went through all the different systems, and then we went into some deeper modalities, and a lot of that included the IV therapy. And I think we pretty much did everything. And that eventually led us to the IV silver, where we had really, really long days together, and we were doing those protocols. And we saw improvements with each, right? It was all slowly getting better and better. And then you became your own expert and started bringing things to me and teaching me about different things that you had heard about and that you wanted to try. For example, I remember the bee venom, right? And you were so open to doing that. And I feel like with each step that we took, it was a step closer, to your healing and to you kind of feeling more and more like your original self and even better. And it took time, and it's still on that journey, but it's so much better than where we started.
Yeah, I mean, I was very grateful that you did, and your philosophy about taking things kind of a step at a time, enough to promote the healing, but not so much as to overwhelm. Because with Lyme disease, when you're doing all that detox, it's a lot. And so I think at the time I had kind of ants in my pants and I just wanted to get it all done. But now, knowing what I know and what I've experienced, I know how important that is and how grateful I am that that was your way of doing things. And you introduced me to a lot of different new and helpful therapies, and everything along the way, it was just like one step forward. I felt like my body had been like, it's almost like the Lyme is kind of the last straw, and it's like the hurricane or the tornado that goes through and creates the destruction. And so you got to get rid of that first, and then you start from ground zero and building up. And that's where you really helped, starting at that first of all, getting rid of the Lyme and then helping build up. And another thing that I really appreciated is when I did come to you with something, you didn't push it aside. You didn't, no, we can do this instead. It was, you listened and you thought, and then, you kind of were my partner in it. And you allowed me to do some of these things, allowed me in the sense that you were there to support medically when I needed, or when I wanted to do the bee venom. You were able to write me the script for the syringes the EpiPen, and just in case. So that was also, for me, I don't know if I could have found someone else who would have supported me in that way. And that also was huge. And even things like writing a script for Ozone. Ozone I can do by myself at home, but I needed your help to do it. So you've been kind of that partner with me throughout, and not only just educating me and showing me new things, but also then being receptive to the ideas that I would bring forward and going from there.
So I remember one of the things that we did kind of more towards the beginning is we did this really, really huge genetic analysis. And I felt like, that was such a big eye-opener and a key in really understanding your body. And so it was the detoxification pathways, right? That was one of the major aspects of it. But it was so much more. Like, I basically got this roadmap to how your body brings things in, assimilates it or not, and then, what's the difficulty in getting rid of the toxin or the overload after. And I feel like when we were able to also add that layer into, the protocols and the programs, it really helped us to understand better how to work with you and what you could tolerate. And then doing that again along with all of the different IV therapies, the high dose vitamin C, chelation, ozone was huge, a huge part of the healing. And I highly recommend ozone, really for most things. And unfortunately, it's got such a bad reputation because, it's not portrayed correctly in, the media and in general settings. And it's something that I'm constantly teaching people about, that it's so safe to use and how highly effective it is. And anything that I can encourage someone to do at home, I'm going to teach you and show you so that you can do that for yourself so that it can accelerate this process. We got to this point where we were working kind of primarily on the physical, and we did a lot in terms of your actual body and the physiology. And that's when I said to you, okay, it's time that we go into some of the deeper spaces. And for me, as a practitioner and the way I live my life as an energy medicine woman, it really involved understanding better how we create who we are, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. What are the unseen spaces that create the signs that the physical body are giving us? Because the physical body is giving us information. And so it's never just something's happening to my body, or I have this disease, or I have a pathogen or a bacteria. It's got to be where the energetic frequency of the system is somehow inviting or in resonance with whatever is living there. And that's just how it works. It's the laws of this universe that we exist in. And, when I started to work with you in that way, you had already also been on your own journey. And then we started talking a little bit about, okay, what's really going on that this has shown up in my life? What is it here to teach me? And you were sharing with me some of the things that were going on in your life personally, some of the emotional pieces that you had been working on, like we all do as humans, right? Myself included, of course. And I said to you, okay, it's time. Like, it's time for us to look at this more directly now, because this is really where it's coming from. So now that you're feeling better and we want you to feel even more optimal, what else do we need to do? And so we started talking about the energetics and how we could work with some of that. And I had said to you, maybe it's time to look at some of the plant medicines of, the native community. And I felt that, your heart space was very centered. You had already done a lot of your own personal work, and it was time to go deeper at what was really attaching you to this frequency of what was showing up in your body, because that was the piece that was ultimately going to shift this and then keep you healthy. Yeah. And so we found a place where, you kind of did some research as well, and we discovered that there was a place locally that you could go to in order to receive some of these medicines. And that's where I know for myself, I saw the greatest shifts in you.
So that probably is what kind of catapulted me from being just functional and living in this world, putting one foot in front of the other, to a whole nother level of healing where I saw more than just the physical space that I occupy, and I learned about myself and even the universe, and my place in it, and it became very clear that this is an area that definitely I needed to address more, and so healing in a way, and not an easy medicine necessarily. Some people maybe yes, it wasn't easy. However, the results were worth the discomfort, and that was transformational. And since then, I have done several ayahuasca sessions, and have always found healing in every single one of them, in maybe a different aspect or way, but it always was healing. And also the place where I went to do ayahuasca, they also offer some other medicines there as well. And that's where, and I didn't try combo there, but that's where I learned about combo. And the owner actually said, "Oh, I figured you were here for the combo," because many Lyme patients use it for their healing. And also became acquainted with Hape and doing some different breath work and different things like that there. But yeah, and that has been pivotal in my ability to not just be able to function in this world and put one foot in front of the other, but actually set me on a whole new course of healing that allows me to seek not just being okay, but living in this world in a way where I'm completely vital and have the energy and the knowledge and the compassion that I need to live fully.
My best simple description of the plant medicines and what I call the animal medicines as well, and the natives, they are so in tune, I will say, with the frequencies of this alchemy, that these types of medicines, create the space for. And I'm not here to in any way try to do justice to their stories and to their wisdom, in these medicines, but just to share that ultimately for them, every physical ailment is really a spiritual issue. Let's say it like that. And so in order to truly heal the body, we must go to the spiritual spaces. And by spiritual, I'm not referring to religion. I'm talking again about the parts of us that are the unseen belief systems, the habits, the things that might be in our lineage that we're wanting to heal. Whatever it is that our soul has decided it has come here for purpose for. It's learning what is needed so that we can be all that we asked to be when we came here. And so these medicines really allow such a deep, for me, in my experience, really the deepest level of opening the possibilities and the doors to that type of remembering who I truly, really am. That I'm not this physical body, remembering my connection to God, and in whatever way, we all kind of connect with God. But for me, it really allowed me, in my experience of doing combo, that, I remembered the oneness, like that place that I truly come from, that has no judgment, that has that pure heart-centered love space. And it took away the attachments that I had to things, to my stories, to the pain, whether it was physical or emotional. And of course, these things alone are not going to do all of it, but in conjunction with working on the physical body, detoxing, keeping it clean, right? Understanding my genetics and understanding yours, and then supporting it with other modalities that help us to look at our insides, to look at our shadow parts, on the emotional, mental, spiritual planes. Combining it all together for me was the ultimate level of healing. And so what I thought was just such a lovely experience here is that you became my combo practitioner. And I felt like, talk about full circle, like for me, I cannot tell you the joy that I felt when I was able to call you to ask you to support me during my first, second, and many sessions after, because I felt so safe with you. And I am a very sensitive individual, and I share that with people because energetically I do have this ability to pick up on a lot. And I go to different places when I'm experiencing this medicine. And it is such a privilege to do that with you because I feel I can be vulnerable and open and just allow myself to be seen fully. So, now it's like you're helping me on my healing path. And I tell people, and that happens here a lot in my, in my office, in my relationships. And I love that there's such a community, but a reciprocity, so that we're all holding that space because we're just reflecting each other. Like we're just mirroring each other. And there's no one that's got it better or worse or wrong or right. We're all just different sides of the coin. And I love that you and I have been able now to be at this place together. And that was part of my intention for us sharing this story so that we can get this out to more people, so that they understand if this is something that resonates with you, there is so much out there that is not necessarily a pharmaceutical or even a supplement. We're not into putting the natural Band-Aid either, right? We want that ultimate deep place that we're changing the blueprint, like we are remembering who we really are. And so I know for me, this experience together has helped me get there, and we're continuing to work together and supporting one another and sharing this message so that more people can understand they have options. There are other things that if they do resonate with, they can reach out to us or to other practitioners who are doing this. My intention was to share this information so that they can see it works, and it works like anything. If it's meant for you, it's going to find you, and you're going to have a journey with it. And it's not sometimes an easy journey. There's going to be hard times and times when it doesn't feel well physically and emotionally. But when that part's done, it feels a lot better than where it was before. And for that reason, I will continue. And it's not done. As long as we're in this human body, it's not done. And I've accepted that. My goal is to do this with less attachment to the suffering. So we don't need to sit in that place so long anymore. And we can flow more easily and move through it more quickly.
After being introduced to Combo, and I went and I became a practitioner after trying it and realizing how significantly better I felt after my initial experience, and began using it a lot after that to help in the healing process. So now, it's a privilege also to help in the sense that I'm able to serve other people and allow them to have their own experience. And I thank you for your kind words. And that's kind of the highest compliment that you can give any combo practitioner, is to feel safe and allow you to have your own journey without judgment, without interfering. So yeah, it's been wonderful to be able to share that with you and others. I'm just very grateful that our paths have crossed, because you were able to help me and my family go in a direction that was ultimately necessary for us to have a fulfilling life, so that we can have health and be the people we were meant to be.
It's truly been my privilege to work with people like Denise, who you just had the opportunity to get to know a little bit better, because not only do I get to go on this deep journey of healing and knowing people from the inside out, it also teaches me so much that I can put into my own life, and also allows my own personal growth. So again, for me, understanding the energy and the blueprint and what's happening in those places that we do not see, the things that we are attached to in our mind and in our biofield that ultimately create the physical ailments and the stories that are in our world. Getting to the bottom of those places is what I do and is what I'm here for, and how I help people. And so I encourage you that if this resonates with you, to seek out practitioners like myself, because there's so many people out there who are willing to support you and are so knowledgeable in these different alternative modalities. And I welcome you to contact us if this suits your healing journey. And we're also here to answer questions and share any information that you may have found pertinent. So I wish you well on your journey, and God bless you.